Recently, I played through Halo 2 with the help of a friend, and we did it on Legendary because we're insane. The following is a completely accurate summary of the campaign. Trust me. If you enjoy the video, don't forget to like and subscribe. The game begins... wait a second. If you're playing on co-op, you actually miss some important exposition at the beginning of the game because they start you off a little later for some reason. Let's rewind. The game begins with, what the fuck is this? Who put Halo 5 in my Halo 2? Why is this here? This has nothing to do with Halo 2! Okay. With that out of the way, the game really begins in the ruins of the first Halo, where some aliens complain and make excuses for getting their asses kicked by John and Dustin Echoes in the first game, and to avoid taking responsibility, the Jedi Council sentences Keith David to be their scapegoat. Cut to the Australian Space Squad's brand new dick-measuring platform, where John is getting bitched at for dying so much in Halo 1 that they had to completely replace his armor. Sergeant Johnson shows up to save us from doing a tutorial, and we follow him along a tram, where he shows us that the dick-measuring platform we're hanging out on is just one of 300, just in case the aliens thought they could prove they had a bigger dick again, just like in Halo Reach. Okay, now we're all caught up to where co-op begins. Master Chief and Johnson walk through a ceremony to get some awards for blowing everyone up on the first Halo ring, and we get to see Keith David get strung up. Keith comments on the fact that there's a missing achievement in Halo Reach for MCC.
If they came to hear me beg, they will be disappointed.
But Big Monkey works for 343 Industries and won't take any shit from Keith, so he burns him to a crisp as a show of force. We get our first look at the brand new and improved Blue E-Girl, who's here to watch and sell her merch to pay for Chief's brand new armor. Ron Perlman hands out some awards to Chief and Johnson, and we cut back to 343 Big Monkey making an example of Keith David for daring to criticize 343 Industries. Then we cut back to Captain Y Position, Captain Exposition's daughter, who's crying because the man who caved in her father's skull is standing right next to her acting like nothing is wrong. 343 Big Monkey seasons Keith David gently, and we cut back one more time to the award ceremony, where the Covenant show up to invade Earth because they're not afraid of our brand new dick measuring platforms. John says the thing,
I need a weapon.
And Dustin Echoes shows up again because the stress induced by the Covenant arriving caused a bout of PTSD and flared up our brain damage. We get our first taste of Halo 2 Legendary. If you've never played Halo 2 Legendary before, here's the gist. If one person dies, the game resets to the last checkpoint. Every single time. We die a lot during this playthrough, and I'm definitely not going to keep track of every death or we'd be here for hours, so I'll just put a few of the highlights as we go. After hiding and dying our way through several hallways full of aliens, we watch as the aliens start to blow up the other dick measuring platforms and our worst fears are realized. The aliens still have the bigger dicks, and we're going to get blown up if we don't hurry. We spend the next 40 minutes fighting and dying our way through the station to the bomb, where we finally get a break to watch my favorite cutscene from any Halo game, where John rides a bomb into the reactor of an enemy spaceship and blows it up single-handedly.
I fucking love this cutscene. I know we're supposed to be sitting here making fun of the plot, but I just love this cutscene so much.
For a brick, he flew pretty good.
Take that, George. John and company head down to Earth, where the Covenant have started invading one specific part of Earth, and we get to see my second favorite cutscene from any Halo game.
Dear humanity, we regret being alien bastards. We regret coming to Earth. And we most definitely regret the Corps just blew up our raggedy-ass fleet. Hoorah!
We're given our first look at the Covenant's answer to us being a nuisance in the form of a giant laser-spewing tank called a Scarab that absolutely wrecks us, and we crash. Somehow, everyone survived that crash, when the Marines in Halo Combat Evolved couldn't even survive a small cushy crash into the Halo ring. Then we spend the next hour fighting and dying our way through the streets of New Mombasa, thanks to the ridiculous amount of sniper jackals sprinkled around that will instantly kill you if they smell you. After finally brute forcing our way through some tunnels, we get to my third favorite cutscene in all of Halo. Halo 2 has some fucking great cutscenes, and the remastered versions are incredible.
Then listen up. Usually the good Lord works in mysterious ways, but not today. This here is 66 tons of straight up, HE spewing divine intervention. If God is love, then you can call me Cupid.
What about that Scarab?
We've all run the simulations. They're tough, but they ain't invincible. Stay with the Master Chief. He'll know what to do.
Yes, sir, Sergeant.
Thanks for the tank. He never gets me anything.
Oh, I know what the ladies like.
We decide to forgo the tank in favor of just blasting past everything in a Puma, and struggle bus our way through more alien-infested tunnels until we're dumped out into one of the worst sections of the game, at least when playing on Legendary. This single section takes us over 10 minutes because of how many fucking sniper jackals there are. The Goss Hog is dead and our other hog despawned, so we have to ask the aliens politely to borrow some ghosts, and we fail our way through the next section that resets us all the way back to where we first got our ghosts because Halo 2 is super stingy about giving us checkpoints. After finally Groundhog Daying ourselves through downtown, we make it inside and watch the Scarab waltz down the street and blow up our backup before just continuing its sightseeing through the city. We carefully pick off all the aliens from the top of the Scarab before jumping on and actually killing everything inside on our first try. I'm not joking. The Scarab explodes for some reason, and John walks off like a badass. Johnston Ubers us back to in Amber Clad, and Captain Y position slipstreams a Covenant ship through a portal that blows up New Mombasa a little bit, but we'll see that again in Halo ODST. And now, after all that climax, we cut back to Keith David being dragged through a hallway by the big monkeys, who present him to the Jedi Council again, but in private this time, where they exposit at him for a while about the Arbiter, a fast food mascot for a chain restaurant about meats, that works for the Jedi Council to rid the world of vegans that don't like Arby's. Keith David assumes the role of the Arbiter, and flies off to a facility with the shipmaster, who has the smoothest voice of any elite, which we chalk up to the fact that he's missing half of his face, so it must open up his vocal cords a little. And now we're finally playing as the Arbiter and the Arbiter, set loose on an old theater to rid it of vegans, except all the enemies that we fight are the same aliens as the ones that are on our team, and sometimes it's a little hard to figure out which ones we're supposed to shoot and which ones are our friends. We catch up to the boss vegan and he flies off, so we commandeer some banshees, listen to some awesome music, and fly to the next section. We catch back up to Shipmaster Honeyvoice and find out that the vegans have been keeping mutant popcorn, but they finally escaped, and now we have to fight them, too. The vegan boss taunts us, and we fight our way through an elevator sequence, and catch up to him where he taunts us a second time. So we decide that we're not going to be good sports, and that if the vegan isn't going to fight fair, then we're just going to take the station down with everyone in it. The vegan makes a break for it, and we catch up to him as he's getting ready to fuck off. So he distracts us with the fact that 343 Industries is still alive, and then reproduces asexually, and we spend 10 minutes doing this boss fight that normally takes about 45 seconds on any other difficulty. 343 Big Monkey steals 343 Industries for himself for obvious reasons, and that's the end of the level. Cut back to John and company as they float out of the slipstream and right into another Halo rig. We decide to desecrate the Holy Ring with our filthy footsteps in the loudest way possible, by orbital drop pod filled with heavy weaponry.
I guess so.
After struggling to trade our ODSTs the Spankers, we drive our way inland, and then drive a tank to the bank, where we watch Blackburn and his squad get airlifted out while... Wait a second, this isn't the right script. We catch up to Regret and promise to make him regret the day he was born, so we die our way through more sniper jackals, take a gondola across a lake that may or may not be a natural formation, and then take an elevator underwater, where the game decides to crap out and we lose 25 minutes of effort. After spending 25 more minutes to get back to where we were, we fight our way through Stargate Atlantis and back topside, where we take another gondola and get repeatedly slaughtered by banshees, until we finally groundhogged our way through it enough times to make it to the other side. High Charity shows up with the entire Covenant fleet because they really want to make sure that they're on top of the dick measuring contest, and we head inside to murder Regret. We spend half an hour trying to shoot Regret to death, until I find out that he can only be beaten to death, and is invulnerable to any other means of killing, so that was a huge waste of time. After we realized that all we actually had to do was beat him to death, we easily dispatch him and make our way back outside, where the Covenant has decided that glassing their holy ring is a better option than having to deal with John and Dustin Echoes, the two dumbasses who just spent half an hour failing at a boss fight, and so we're thrown in the water. We get special hugged by a soggy churro, and the game cuts back to the Arbiter, where it's revealed that the elites are being replaced by the big monkeys as the protectors of the Jedi Council, because apparently it's the elites' fault that Regret died. We find out that the Jedi plan to send us to get an index, and we have PTSD flashbacks to the library from Halo Combat Evolved.
Oh my god, there's so many carrier 4. I'm at 1 health. Oh god, please. Oh god. No! My dad!
But it's okay, this level is only half as bad as that one. It's still pretty bad. After fighting our way inside, we take an elevator to a series of samey hallways before jumping down a slide filled with creepy music.
This is so much less frightening when there's someone else here, though.
And then jumping down a second slide filled with creepy music.
It'd be nice not to have to do this every time, because it's going to make me throw up if I keep having to do this.
Oh, the music is way better than Remaster here.
Yeah?
In the original, it's just like...
And then jumping down a third slide filled with regular music.
Not the popcorn
Jesus.
one.
Accidentally shot. I could have shot you.
I thought you died for a second. I was like, oh no. Hey, you
What the
got a
fuck?
loading
I teleported.
Oh, because I'm just bouncing down faster than you?
Who designed this?
This is such a weird
Imagine this glitched and it just like perpetually just dropped us forever.
And then we're dumped out into an arena where we have to wait an arbitrary amount of time for the level to end so that we can go to the next one. After almost 10 minutes, we're finally blessed with the level end, and now we begin the slog through the quarantine zone, a snow-filled hellscape full of spanker flood and more spanker flood. This level's a bitch. We make it to the elevator that we decide to just glitch into the geometry on because we'd been doing the rest of the game normally up to this point, and it's been 9.5 hours. Come on. We deserve a break. We're greeted to the familiar horrors of the library, but luckily it's just a small section of the first level, and everything is already dead, so we don't have to go through that again. Captain Y position wants to get to the index first, and does the sensible thing. Well, sensible as opposed to going through the entirety of the library just to take an elevator back down to the bottom floor, and jumps to the middle to grab it, and Johnson saves her as she almost falls to her death. The Arbiter jump scares Johnson and knocks his gun away, so Captain Y position scares him off with the power of the pea-shooter SMG, before 343 Big Monkey arrives, zaps her unconscious, and then betrays us, which no one is surprised by because he was a dick the entire time. And now for the hardest level in the entire series. Arbiter gets dragged into a room with John and a giant evil soggy churro, who recites some poetry at us and reminds us exactly what the Halo ring does, just in case you're new to the series and don't know what's going on. He teleports us away to look for the index so that we can stop the Jedi Council from lighting the rings, because our plan of not being dead has still carried over from Halo Combat Evolved, so we don't want them to activate Halo. We jump into the room and ask a grunt nicely for his needler before getting instantly killed as soon as the cutscene ends. Getting out of this one single room took us almost 20 minutes. We suffer our way to High Charity's prison system, where we free our fellow Marines from their life sentences for committing tax fraud. Yeah, that's right, even the Covenant has an IRS. And then, after just over an hour of playing through the level, I realized that I had to go. No big deal, right? We just resume the last checkpoint? Haha, nope. Halo doesn't let you resume the last checkpoint when you're playing on co-op, so we have to start from the very beginning of the level. We spend another 20 minutes getting slaughtered in the first room until we finally brute force our way out, and head back down to the prison system to free the Marines again. And then the rest of this level is pretty much just us dying for another hour, so I'll skip past that. After finally completing the level, we see that Captain Y position and Johnson are going to be used as the designated Halo activators because none of the aliens in the Covenant are allowed to do it themselves because the Forerunner said no. Bad. The group gets attacked by evil popcorn, and Mercy is groped by a colonel, but he's ironically given no mercy and left to suffer and die because Truth was planning on getting rid of him eventually anyways, and just happened to luck out. Cut back to the Arbiter, who arrives through the teleporter and picks up a gun. That's it. That's all the setup you get for this level. We struggle our way through hordes of brutes and finally catch up to some allies, who pretty much all died immediately because we can barely handle brutes. How are some randos who don't even have plot armor supposed to do it? We catch back up with Shipmaster Honeyvoice and find out that all the guys who decided that we were heretics at the beginning of the game were killed by the brutes too, so haha. Cut back to John again, who almost caught up with the Phantoms that stole Johnson and Captain Y position, but unfortunately, since we didn't manage to get there in time, we have to fight our way back through High Charity full of evil popcorn and Covenant now. Luckily, this level is pretty short if you just run past everything, and we made it to the end in less than half an hour, where we catch a ride on the EAC.
First you were all like, whoa, and then we were like, whoa, and then you were like, whoa.
And stow away in Truth's key ship that we're totally just going to jump off of immediately when we get to Earth later instead of, I don't know, sticking around to stop Truth before getting off. Cut back to the Arbiter and Shipmaster Honeyvoice, who hatch a plan to get inside of the control room by blowing it open with a Scarab. But unfortunately, Johnson beat us to it, and driving the Scarab was cut from the game. So we take some plain old Banshees instead and escort him to the end so that he can blow the doors open. After getting through the doors to the control room, we run past the brutes in this section because it's a way better option than trying to fight them and dying for like 10 minutes. 343 Big Monkey tries to get Captain Y position to activate the ring nicely, but is interrupted by the Arbiter and Johnson. The Arbiter finally gets to know the truth about the Halo ring half an hour before the end of the game, but 343 Big Monkey ain't having none of that shit, and forces Captain Y position to activate Halo. And now for the worst boss fight in all of Halo. We have to sit and wait for Johnson to shoot 343 Big Monkey 3 times, so that we can shoot him a couple of times, before he becomes invincible again, and then just keep doing that until the game decides that he dies. After shutting down the ring, 343 Industries reveals that all the Halo rings are now ready to be activated remotely from the Ark, which we've got to get to before Truth, so that doesn't happen, even though Truth wouldn't actually be able to do anything once he got there, because only humans can activate anything related to Forerunner technology. Cut to Truth's key ship, with John on board to deliver a super badass line.
Sir, finishing this fight.
We're both really pumped up for the climax of the game, a final push to defeat Truth and stop him from ever reaching the Ark or setting foot on Earth again. We're ready to finish the fight, and that's the end of the game. Game over.
What? Are you fucking kidding me? That's the end of the game? An anticlimactic fight with a monkey and we're not even playing as Master Chief? That's where the game ends? A cliffhanger?